Hello and welcome to the Indie Tea Talk podcast, live from the Wold Top Brewery. I'm Adam and this is Kitty, your host for a journey into indie music across the north of England. Tune in as we explore unique melodies, chat with talented artists and create a space that you can discover your favourite music like never before. Like always, it's really big help to us if you hit that subscribe button. It's a massive help to promote this thing that we're doing and also all the grassroots musicians and independent artists that we try and support. Tonight, we're here in the heart of Yorkshire, surrounded by good beer and great company, and we have the pleasure of introducing Boss Caine to the stage. Led by the talented Daniel Lucas, Boss Caine is a Yorkshire-based Americana collective with over 20 years' experience in the music industry. Known for their gravelly vocals, soulful storytelling, and haunting melodies, Boss Caine bring raw, heartfelt sound and captivated audiences around the world. From solo gigs to full band festival shows, they've done it all, while staying fiercely independent. Tonight, we're diving deep into the music, the journey, and maybe even getting a few tales from the road. So, please join us in raising a glass and welcoming Boss Caine to the stage.
The raising a glass bit is really easy. I'm finding
I'm down with that bit as well. So, Boss Caine's been going strong for 20 years now. How have you managed to keep the project evolving for so long?
Stubborn defiance, I think, as much as anything, but a lack of plan B and a crazy amount of talented friends being into the songs and helping to make them better than they would be if it was just me, ultimately. But I think the longevity thing is also down to just being in the right place at the right time. And if you're like that enthused about live music and hanging around venues with bands, then things just start happening. You kind of get to where you meet all the people that you need to meet, and hopefully they don't hate you, and and then doors start opening, and just a lot of time in bars, at venues, talking to people and enthusing about music. And I think it kind of draws people I think people get, if you're passionate about something, people connect to that very quickly. And,
I think growing up, you were a huge part of the York music scene for me. Dan used to run the Dusk open mic night on a Sunday sessions, and that was one of the first open mics I ever went to. And Dan had already been doing it forever and knew exactly what to say to me and made me feel a lot more at home than I felt in a lot of other places.
That was a special night, and it was great that was... So that was something that kind of grew out of a friend opening a bar just as I was pretty much just started doing Boss Caine stuff and just moved back to York. And all of the open mics and acoustic sessions were all cover stuff, and it was all the same, which is fine. There's a place and an audience for that. But I was aware there was a lot of songwriters that weren't getting heard around, and it was great to have like a platform where we could have people coming to do like gigs in their early days, and people, because for those of you that don't know, the night that we're talking about, it used to, initially it started early standard gig hours, but it then went on to until 2 a.m. on a Sunday, which many people go, how do you make a gig work like that? And it just worked. But
and there was always people there as well, so it was so late.
It was always pretty buzzing, but and we also had contacts at the other venues in town, so I'd train, if there was a touring band coming through that was playing at like Fibbers or the Duchess, I'd be down there watching them at soundcheck and trying to blag them into coming and doing this after hours acoustic gigs. So we had a lot of that, which kind of raised the profile of it. But to have those kind of people playing with people that were kind of bedroom singer-songwriters and everyone just feeling like they're on the same level for the night was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it gives people a great stepping stone as well to be able to, to talk to these more established artists and give them that idea of what they need to do and how they need to go about it. Because it can be really daunting when you first start out, not knowing who and where you need to be, like who you need to speak to, where you need to go to find these different things, and to create that environment where you could like just create like a pool of musicians from all different stages in their careers.
And there was a lot of I think it took a while to establish it. It took a long time to establish it, and for it to open out into more like bands coming down rather than just like acoustic musicians. But ultimately, there was a lot of bands formed out of it. I think like bands like Hijack Oscar and quite a few of the York bands that kind of fed off that were kind of people that had met at that. They were new to town and were seeking like-minded people and people that would stay up all night with them and play and drink and things. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So you started out playing classical piano, is that right?
Well, yes. Yeah.
I think when you was big.
Yeah.
Knee high to a grasshopper, as they say.
Indeed.
And then you evolved into more garage punk, and you formed a band. Or did you form the band, or were you part of the band? You formed a band called the Nosedivers.
Yep.
How did those early sort of experiences follow through into Boss Caine?
Well, I get like the early stuff. When I was playing classical music, I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And
I actually didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. I was like shoved onto a stage when I was like 9 years old and gone, "What, performing monkey, do your thing." And then entered into all lots of competitions and classical grades and all of that gubbins. But it was, I think the Nosedivers was probably somewhat a reaction to that, in that it was, well, that's very much
rebellion.
You will learn how to do this and repeat it and play it in a certain way, and that the Nosedivers was just make a racket with your friends and try and work out how to be in a band. And we maybe never did, but we had a lot of fun pretending that we did. So I guess that kind of informed the Boss Caine stuff a little bit, in that there seemed to be a phase where there was a lot of people that I was listening to that I knew from punk bands that started putting out very much country influenced acoustic stuff, and I think the core fact that it was built around 3 chords and the truth, for want of a cliche, kind of shenanigans, kind of spoke to us, and it was like, well, I've the band's gone, so I need something that I can do. But Boss Caine kind of started out as I was living in London at the time, and I'd borrowed people from other bands. I never wanted it to be a solo thing, which is why it had a name and was not my name. But because I've done so many gigs solo now, it's become this thing where I have to explain it time and time again. But it's just a revolving. It's a body of work, I guess. The songs.
I think there's much more of a crossover from punk into kind of country and folk as well than people think.
Absolutely, yeah. Because sonically, it's not there, but it is when you look at the songwriting process. It definitely is.
Yeah, the actual structure.
And audience-wise as well, I think I've learned over the years, like, there's a lot more crossover. Like, somehow I've ended up, like, supporting people like the Undertowns and the Buzzcocks and doing this, and it doesn't fit that at all, really. I don't really fit anywhere. It just takes little elements of lots of things from all over the place.
You've kind of mentioned there about the revolving lineup. How does that fit into the creative process of Boss Caine?
Well, I tend to write everything on my own these days. In the early days, I had a couple of people that I was writing with. I'm playing with a lot, thinking that might be a more permanent fixture. But having toured a lot on my own, and I had like different people that would join us in different towns, I liked the idea of keeping the songs sort of fluid enough for them to be pulled in directions by other people, which has pros and cons.
Because we were talking about this earlier on, weren't we, when we were doing sound check, about how you meet up with a group of people, you practice it, and then you go off, play it solo, and come back with a slightly different variation of that song.
Yeah,
and it's kind of makes it a little bit more interesting.
Songs can be ever changing.
Absolutely, and I think
like
some
that.
people like see a song and then want to tie it down to something. But I've always kind of seen them as like living, breathing entities, and you can find like a melody or a heart and soul to it. But if you're open to like another instrument pulling it in a different direction, then it can. Not every song's open to that, but yeah, I mean, playing with people that understand that that's how I work and that's how songs work.
And not being protective over a certain version of
or saying like you must
song.
play it like this.
Yeah.
It's very much a collaborative thing. If someone's involved, then they're involved because I love what they do, and I've probably seen them playing with someone else. And it's not so much I've heard a certain instrument in my head and I'm going to seek someone out for that. There'll be a personal connection to it as well.
Yeah. You've done a massive range of gigs over the years of doing Boss Caine. What's your most memorable one to date?
Yeah.
Oh, indeed.
Good question. I mean,
For all reasons.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that jump to mind immediately, and I think for me, some of the most memorable ones are the really random things that happen along the way, and because a lot of the touring that I've done have been on my own, which is fine. That's how I like to do a lot of the stuff, but it means I do it on a shoestring budget. So if what I've got with me is there's no hotel rooms involved, I'm staying on floors and things.
Yeah.
So I have to carry like guitar and rucksack and merch bag and everything around with me. So if I like pop into a cafe to get something to eat, and then someone will end up asking if I've been playing, and then
Because you've got everything with you at
yes,
all times.
yeah, and then it's like, oh well, if you do a gig here now, you can have your breakfast for free, and it's like, well, I'm going to have to do that because I need the money, and why wouldn't I do that? And let's see what happens, and then you end up with like a spontaneous gig happening, and that's always quite exciting. But I suppose the other flip side of that is playing with people that I've really respected or admired musically, and people. I get like playing with Arlo Guthrie was mind destroying because we were sat in the dressing room playing songs, and we're playing like Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan songs, but Woody Guthrie's his dad, and he grew up with Bob Dylan as one of his best mates, and it's like I remember like stepping out of the dressing room and banging my head against the wall, going, "Is this even real? This is just insane." But like stuff like that's
Being able to play with your idols.
yeah, and being asked to like join some of them on stage as well and I kind of just got into the habit of saying yes before I'd talked myself out of it or realised that I didn't really know what I was doing and thought, well, I can probably get away with this one way or another, or it'll just be another story to tell if not.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've done a lot of music in like for charitable events and stuff like that, and one of those is We Shall Overcome. It seems to be quite close to your heart. And what's the impact of playing these sort of events and gigs for you as a musician? And
the We Shall Overcome is very different to I've done a lot of charity gigs over the years and stuff, on all sorts of stages, but We Shall Overcome is quite different to that in that it's more sort of community and solidarity than charity. It's not like it's not a registered charity.
Right.
It's about community support for people that need it. And in turn, that has brought together a community of musicians that become really close and defiant in terms of supporting things that are local to them, and has made like a visible difference. And it's incredibly, like there's doing a charity gig where someone announces a total at the end of the night and you all celebrate, we've raised this much money, and then that goes off to a registered charity. And then there's doing a We Shall Overcome gig where you can see that it is literally feeding the community as you're doing it.
And a continuing process.
Yeah. And we've had like people coming up to us that the previous gig that we've done for that has literally got them off the streets, and it's like that's an incredibly powerful thing to meet people that are moved by that and then it links up a lot of things, but it's been doing a lot of important work, and is very DIY in that people take over what they're doing, and it's kept for the area where they are. But supporting Pauline Town, who runs the station in Ashton, was the initial motivation for that, because she basically runs a not-for-profit pub that was feeding, well, now it's feeding over 150 people a day.
Wow.
And it's all done by musicians playing there and donating their fee, and the bucket gets passed around, and it's an amazing thing to be part of.
How did you get involved in it?
Joe Solo, who I do a lot of stuff with, and I'd been down to play at Dusk as well, was one of the instigators for that. And I think the first year it was essentially we'd blag a venue to use. Like everything was donated, so we'd have the venue donated, all the musicians that played donated their time, and there was maybe like 3 or 4 venues the first year, and the second year it was up to 20, and then now it's like hundreds, and there's just word got out that it was a functioning way to support your community, and you could have a good time doing it.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I mean, like anything to do with that I can be part of, I do what I can, and I like to play. Like me and Joe have recorded a lot of songs together anyway. So it's
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Well done, yeah. So the usual viewers to the Indie Tea Talk podcast will know this is the point where I normally ask you about your favourite tea. But seeing as though we're at a brewery, I'm going to bit of a swerve curveball on it. I'm going to ask you if Boss Caine was to create a beer, what would it taste like and why?
I don't think there'd be any of it left.
Perfect answer.
But I think if it was going to be a tea, it would probably be a Long Island iced tea.
Nice.
Okay. Amazing.
But, yeah, maybe we should have a beer at some point.
Absolutely. Well,
top.
that kind of brings us to the end of part 1 of the podcast. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to refresh our glasses with some more tasty Wold Top beer. And we're going to join you back again in about 10-15 minutes for part 2. Thank you very much. Welcome back to part 2. Yay! A little bit more enthusiasm, please. So you've mentioned that one of the highlights of your career has been hearing people who say that your songs have helped them through hard times. Can you share any stories around that really resonate with you?
Well, not without... I'll try and be very non-specific. I guess it's like I'll generalise in that there's a lot of. I'm aware that I've got quite a lot of dark songs, and sometimes it feels like I'm oversharing, but I'm fortunate in that I guess that has found the people that feel better for not feeling so alone about being able to relate to those, and I don't think, touch wood, anyone that would not relate to them is necessarily going to ever listen to them. So I do have moments of guilt about whether I'm putting too much dark stuff out there, but I think it's worth it for the people that do get it. But yeah, like having I had a friend who was a musician as well, I played with, who asked for one of my songs to be played at her funeral when she died a few years ago. And that was absolutely mind-blowing, like that she'd want that to be a song that was the thing that kind of saw her out of this world, as it were. I end up I get a lot of messages from people who relate to some of the darker songs, and it does feel a little bit like I become a semi-volunteered social worker at times. But I think that's part of the role of being a musician, though, to some extent. In that, like, if you're going to put that out there, then you can't like walk away when someone reacts to it. You kind of got, whether it's good or bad or whatever. But there's. I don't want to be sharing personal stories from other people's. But
No, of course not.
You know what I mean.
But the general sort of like you were saying there about having your songs played at a funeral, and like that's such a personal and an amazing like.
I mean, I've had like birthdays and weddings and happy occasions. But I think that weirdly that's the one that I'm always going to think, wow, that's massive. Like that someone had planned and gone, I want that as the last song that is associated with me on this planet. That's
I also think there's such a place for dark or sad songs as such. In that my mum is always really sweet about when I'm on stage. I'm always like, sorry, my songs are so sad, haha. And my mum always says, don't be sorry. She's like, it's great that they're sad, and I think it's great that your songs resonate with people so much.
It's an exorcism thing.
You definitely shouldn't feel guilty ever.
No, it's more that I appreciate you saying that. I think it's more. Because having played lots of bar gigs and tried to keep it upbeat, because you do, because you don't want to ruin someone's Friday night, and you do the story songs and things, it's very different. But I think that comes down to doing lots of different gigs and the recorded output being very different to what people get on some nights. Mm-hmm. And I don't always plan what they're going to get on those nights, or it just kind of falls into place that sometimes they get a bit wayward and rock and roll, and sometimes they get me having some kind of therapeutic experience on stage and pouring my heart out, and some people are going to relate to one and some people are going to relate to the other, and maybe you'll get a bit of both in the set. Hopefully you'll get a bit of both in the set tonight. We'll see where we go.
We had Marnie Glum in, and we spoke to her about like the darker songs that she sings, and one of the things that I mentioned to her, and I think it applies well to you as well, is that sometimes you can have a really sad song, but it's quite a happy song because it shows you where you've been or where this character in the song has been and where they've come back from as well. And it depends on how you relate to that song.
So I mean, I think the second someone can relate to the song, then it presumably makes them feel less alone, and then that's a good thing. But people who've not experienced that are just going to hear it as, oh, well, this is a fucking miserable song. This guy is bringing me down. But there should be some kind of cathartic experience within it.
So obviously you've recorded several albums now. How do you manage to have the crossover into different genres, but you still really have a unique sound? How do you manage to keep it? Or I guess maybe it's because you, like you said, you've quite often kept it to you solely writing the songs and then venturing out from there, or
possibly. But I think when we come to record albums, I need like albums to feel like a project that has some kind of beginning, middle, end journey kind of thing from growing up listening to records and things.
Yeah.
So I do approach albums like a piece of art without wanting to sound too
you
pretentious.
should, I think.
But I know that's not how most people listen to them anymore, but I think it's
do.
important that that's how they're made, or it is to me anyway. Yeah. Even if people only select the songs that kind of
like
hit them straight.
The playlisting consumption.
But I think the variety is born out of the songs themselves, and I think sometimes the songs that in my head I'm hearing a band on, and I think, oh, I'll have this guy playing drums and so doing this, and I end up pretty much playing, because I'm gigging on my own, I remove the need for them to be there, because I end up playing quite rhythmic, and sometimes the songs that I think should just be me, there's so much space there that's when it wants a band to kind of prop it up, and it's not until you get into a studio and bounce these ideas around, and it is about the feedback from other people, and I think recording's like so different to playing live.
Yeah, really different.
And like live stuff is over in an instant, and that's got so many positives about it, in that you can just run through a set and think about where you're going to go next, whereas a record is forever, isn't it? And, and you kind of want to plan it down a bit more.
That's made me so terrified to recording. It's forever, guys.
It's such a weird. I find it a really
it's
weird
true
experience.
though, yeah.
You need a good like a good sort of wingman for want of a better word, someone that can see the song and the context that it's going to fit in as well, and keep you kind of coming back to where you were at your most enthused about it. And I've been lucky
when you've listened to it 1,000 times.
Yeah, and you're just sick of the sound of yourself as well, to some extent, or you trying everything to make something, and someone's got the nous to tell you that's not where it's meant to be, but you're kind of on the right track and steer you back. Co-pilots are very important things.
So moving away from the artsy section of music, you've toured with some amazing acts like Ginger Wildheart and Beans on Toast. What's some of the wilder things? Maybe not the wildest, it is going out there. So, what's some of the wilder things that you've experienced or learnt on the road?
I have to be very careful in self-edit this. The wilder things. Having a tour bus driver fall asleep at the wheel when there's 14 of us on the coach was pretty wild. And literally seeing the tour bus, I was the last one up, and I'd sweet talked him into letting me smoke by his side in the passenger seat, and everyone else was asleep in the bunks, and he was unconscious at the wheel, and we were hitting the what they call rumble strips, and just drifting across the motorway, and
oh my gosh,
that's terrifying.
Literally,
it's terrifying.
Probably the most terrifying moment of my life. But there was a few adventures on that tour, and but I think the big moments, or the big memorable moments, are just the random things. Like there's so many weird, joyous moments that happened on tour with Beans, where we'd have like people like proposing to each other on stage behind us while we were playing, and we had like Olympic athletes doing gymnastics behind us, and it's just so random. Like the shit that happens on tour with people like that is like, you just meet people every day, and every gig's so different.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but how on earth do you get to the point where you've got Olympic athletes doing gymnastics behind you?
No idea. and just those things just kind of creep up on you on the day, and you get introduced to someone at soundcheck, and this is going to happen. Totally forget about it. Crack on doing your set, and suddenly there's people doing twirly things behind you, or proposing on one knee, and just nuts. But it does keep every night is very different in its own little way. But, a lot of the more wild things should probably not be talked about.
We'll talk about that later.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah.
With the sworn to secrecy document.
Non-disclosure. Yeah. So with such an extensive history, what does the future hold for Boss Caine? Have you got any new projects, collaborations, releases? What have we got to look forward to on the horizon?
Good question. There's a lot of songs waiting to be released. I'm kind of struggling to find a way to do it the way that I want to, but we are working towards that. I think the music industry is going through a very weird time at the moment, and I'm not willing to tie myself to something that I don't really approve of. So I've, to my own financial detriment, removed my things from streaming platforms and other things because of political reasons, which I'll try not to bore you all with. But also, it's just so weird that we've got to a point where everyone's listening to music by streaming it ultimately, but because that doesn't pay musicians properly, people feel obliged to then buy a product that is ultimately needlessly damaging to the environment. Like T-shirts they're never going to wear, or CDs they don't even have a CD player to play, and just to feel like they're supporting musicians. So I don't really know how to release anything anymore, but there's a lot of songs that we're recording at the moment, and hopefully have some form of. In my head, it's still got to be an album. I don't want to be doing content or like videos or things. It's going to be like projects that make sense within and of themselves.
Yeah.
But how that comes to fruition, it remains to be seen.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and next year is a exciting and equally terrifying blank canvas in some ways. But the song's waiting to happen anyway.
Brilliant.
Nice. Exciting.
Well, yeah, definitely. We're coming towards the end.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're almost there. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got a couple of quick fire questions for you.
Go on.
So, first one is, what's the wildest rumour you've ever heard about yourself?
I don't know. There's been a few rumours about me joining other people's bands, which are basically by people that don't understand that that's not really what I do. But I think most other things would be absolutely buried by the reality. Yeah, I don't know. I tend not to listen to what people think anyway, or I'd have given up a long time ago.
Good answer.
I think it's crazy. So when I met Dan, I didn't know his name for...
Oh, there's that one.
What? 3 years? I think 2 or 3 years. And I called him GT.
That was a rumour that I started. There's been quite a few of those. So to fill in the gaps on that, when I was playing in the Nosedivers, I decided that I was going to tell everyone that I'd changed my name to GT Turbo, just on a whim. And for about 5 years, no one knew my name.
Time.
Just called me that.
Big time.
And I basically told them that I'd done it by Deepole, and that was a lie. But literally, I stopped responding to my own name.
Yeah, I was coming to one of your gigs, and they were like, "Oh,
ridiculous.
are you going to Dan Lucas's gig?" And I was like,
No idea who he is.
I was like, "Who's that?" And they were like, "You know Dan, Boss Caine." And I was like, "He's not called Dan. He's called GT." Yeah.
I wish I'd have known that beforehand. I would definitely change.
Should have been a huge
yeah. What's the weirdest rumour you've created about yourself? So, if you could headline any festival in the world, what would it be?
I wouldn't. I'd rather watch someone else after playing. But I don't know. There's lots of festivals that I've not been to that I'd like to go to, but I don't really see myself as a headliner, and I'm quite happy with that. I like to be somewhere in the middle, or just knowing that there's someone I'm going to be excited about playing after me is going to make me play better and enjoy the whole thing more. So,
where would it be?
Like geographically?
Who would it be supporting?
Oh.
Sorry, so many questions now. This is not quick fire anymore. This is...
It's quicker fire. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. What I really like about festivals is that little... See, to me, it's a sweet spot, but I know for most people it's like absolute carnage in their mind, where you stand in the middle of the festival and you can kind of hear bits of all of the stages. Mm-hmm. That's what my head sounds like all of the time. So when I find that, it's like I feel like I'm at home, and I can hear like a dance tent over there and like a rock band over there and an acoustic act over there. So I like festivals because I like the chaos of the noise in a way that it somehow makes sense to me, because I like all of the elements of it. But yeah, I wouldn't be put in charge of a festival. Again.
Have all the stages in a circle.
Yeah, just have them all play at the same time. Yeah, this is great.
What is the most unexpected inspiration you've had behind a song or a piece of art?
I went through, and I think like everything's kind of unexpected in that it's just something to be grateful for when it happens, but it's not anything predictable. But I went through a phase of deliberately watching shit Channel 5 afternoon movies and taking certain characters or a little bit of the plot and then running with that. And this is probably due to getting home at 4 a.m. and waking up just as they were starting on the couch going, well, I need to start today with a song and something's happening on the telly that I'll do. But I went through a phase of writing a lot of songs about films really that I really don't like. and there's nothing about the films that I wouldn't recommend them to anyone. I was just determined to find something that I could grasp and take a character or a happening in the film and run with that.
And make them more interesting than they are
or
in
just
the film.
abbreviate it because they'd been drawn out into 2 hours when all they needed was 10 minutes.
Nice.
Brilliant. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast for today.
No more talking.
No more. Thank you. More. I'd just like to give a big thanks to Dan for coming over today and doing this nerve-wracking experience in front of you all. I'd also like to thank you all again for coming. Thank Wold Top Brewery for helping us. There's a little fly.
Wold Top.
Yes, there we go.
The beer is lovely.
Yeah. For Wold Top Brewery. And yeah, so please all remember to hit subscribe and help us to create this community that we're trying to build, and hopefully we'll be able to put on more amazing events like this. It's time to refill your glasses once again, and we're going to get set up for some live music. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
With scenarios unfolding right before my very eyes, the gentleman unyielding before he's satisfied. He's got his mind upon the job, he's got his eyes fixed on the prize, he's got his ass out on the road. He's not about to be denied. When he knows there's something out there, it's just waiting to be found. Even with its weight on his shoulders, this old world can't keep him down. Days long, and he might be a master of his craft, but he song. In his eyes, sometimes joy, sometimes surprise, and the noises he can make with that old guitar when his fingers really fly. You can't call it fate or fortune, call it what you want to. You can genuinely tell it's what he was put on this earth to do. He's a soul machine like you've never seen. He's as real as the day is long, and he might be a master of his craft, but he's still a slave to the song, still a slave to the song, a slave to the song. Slave to the song. Tried to change him, but he's master of his destiny, and he knows just what he's doing, and he's never done wrong by me. So I love him like a brother, though he's years younger than me. The times I bow down to his wisdom now happen more and more frequently. He's a song machine like you've never seen. He's as real as the day's long, and he might be a master of his craft, but he's still a slave to the song. 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 There are many lives that I could spend to keep you from knowing what I've done and where I've been tonight. But great expectations of such fabrications just wouldn't be right. And intoxication nullifies each explanation I offer you tonight. And you see through all my lies, you see through all my lies. So what's the use in denying the truth? Man overboard, red alert. I'm sailing for stormy waters now. And it's not that but they just don't do what they order now. While a fool I know, I can't keep myself afloat. Oh, I'm just a fool, been drowning in you. I've been pretending, oh, I've been defending my heart, but I'm just running scared. I've been losing time, I've been losing my mind, I've been caught unawares. Though I did not intend to hurt or offend you, I've got no excuses prepared. There's nothing that's left now but lies. There's nothing that's left but my lies. What am I to do when I still love you? I couldn't tell you where we're bound for now, but I know that I've let my baby down. I've been giving her the runaround. Now I found that I've let my baby down. But she keeps it all inside. She keeps it all inside. What am I to do when I still love you? I still love you. I still love you. I still love you. I still love you.
That's it.
I was out walking one time with an old friend of mine through the vales and the valleys in summer sunshine, and we got to talking about the big questions in life. He said, I don't believe in God, but I do believe in heaven. It's a 57 Junior through an amp cranked to 11. The road goes on forever, the party never ends. Nobody's a stranger, everyone's a friend. There's not a voice raised in anger, love and laughter abound. People lift each other up and never knock each other down. No one's ever left behind without help should they fall. It's always all for one and one for all. Mother Nature runs wild, fearlessly and free. There's an intoxicating air there, a peace and harmony, yeah. It's pretty much the way you'd likely wish things could be around here. Right now, wine on a good day, it doesn't seem so far away to me somehow. Well, I replied, if there is a heaven, there must be a hell. Could it be that we've already seen a glimpse of that as well? He looked at me and laughed like he'd something to tell, put his arm around my shoulder. We walked into the dell. He told me if there's a hell, it would be more of the same. There'd be nobody doing a damn thing to change it. They'd be running around trying to find someone they can blame, saying, don't worry about this mess, it's better in the next life. Like this is some kind of trial run for a game we're all playing. Everyone can level up by simply kneeling and praying. Well, take a look around you, consider what you're saying. Well, how'd you think that's working out? But I know that there's a devil, he lives deep down inside. I've seen him in your eyes when your hands get idle. He'll take over you if you won't take pride in all the things that you do, the reasons why too. So bury him deep, keep the devil down. Don't you go seeking him out. In every juke joint in town, you'll see plenty of him in the faces of the friends that you found. He lives in us all, he sure gets around. Yeah, if there is a hell, and that's where I'm bound, I know I won't be alone there. I'll see you around. So gather the gang up and brace them for singing. Wherever we're going, we're coming in swinging. If there is a hell, I'll see you there. If you think we're bound for heaven, we haven't got a prayer. If there is a hell, I'll see you there. If you think we're bound You don't know how long you've been sleeping until you awake. You don't know how long you've got left or how much you can take. You don't know what prize lies ahead or what might be at stake instead. You don't know how long you've been standing still till you do the hippie shake. The best way to start out your day is as you mean to go on. So roll up a number, put a rock and roll record on. Who knows how far we've got to run? We don't even know how far we've already come. But if the human race is a marathon, well, I know who my money's on. He's a master at the art of starting again. When things start falling apart, he goes back to the start. He just pretends there's only one way to become a legend. He was taught how by a legend and then some. That's why he's the leader of this game. Well, he's a master at the art of starting again. It ain't easy, being easy, and he should know. But he somehow always manages to find a way to get to the show. He will add the fiddle to the rhythm and rhyme, a smile on his face looking fine and dandy. Old cold at the bar, come closing time. The art of starting again. When things start falling apart, he goes back to the start. He just pretends there's only one way to become a legend. He was taught how by a legend and then some. That's why he's the leader of this game. Well, he's a master at the art of starting again, yeah. If I'm going to die, I'm gonna die high. Smoking my desire, watching fire fall from the sky. If I make it to the pearly gates that day, I know I'll see him coming back the other way. With a smile on his face, he'll be saying, let's have one more round, my friend. He's a master of the art of starting again. When things start just pretend. There's only one way to become a legend. He was taught how by a legend and then some. That's why he's the leader of this game. Well, he's a master at the art of starting again. Living by the sword, you get no time to waste, you can't afford. But I take and take and I take some more, until I can't recall what it is I take it for. From one little acorn, this gnarled old oak did grow, to become the home of this raggedy lonesome crow. When the wild, wild winter winds would blow, it stubbornly stood strong throughout the cold. I wash my face in the rain again, and wonder where the hell in the world I might have been this time. If I could just find my way back to there, if I'd repent for all my many mortal sins. So high that all that's left to do is fall. Each time I survive, I feel invincible. I keep telling myself that's just not true, but it never seems to be enough to stop me doing all the things I do. You see, I love rock and roll, and rock and roll loves me. So won't you put another dime in the jukebox now, baby? For it's taken my soul, but forsaken the rest of me. Now this raggedy lonesome crow is falling out that gnarled tree. sword. You get no time to waste, you can't afford. But I take and take and I take some more, until I can't recall what it is I take it for.
Thank you.